In a land where the heat can melt any will, life still finds a way to survive. Here, nothing is easy. Every opportunity is bought with life or death gambles. Welcome to Masai Mara, where only those who adapt have the right to live. Masai Mara, wild win or lose, the most fierce battles for survival. The sun pours down on Masai Mara, heating the atmosphere and draining every last drop of moisture from the ground. Every movement on the grassland becomes heavy, as if everything is compressing itself to withstand the giant furnace. In this suffocating silence, every step required immense energy and unwavering patience. Under the thin shadows of the thorny bushes, the reign of the ruler loomed large, majestic, and tranquil. Male lions, with their imposing manes and bulging muscles, guarded the territorial boundaries with their resounding roars. But behind this imposing exterior lay a different biological reality. The burden of providing sustenance for the entire family rested on the shoulders of the females. They lacked magnificent manes, but possessed resilience and a predatory instinct honed to feed their families. Lying isolated at the edge of the thorny bushes, Kara struggled to expel the heat from her body through ragged, labored breaths. She suppressed her gnawing hunger to conserve her last ounce of strength, waiting for the temperature to drop before beginning her task. Every muscle in Kara's sturdy legs was strained by the responsibility of feeding the hungry stomachs waiting in the herd. As the heat began to subside, the moment of patience ended, giving way to instincts more powerful than ever. Kara rose, shaking off the weariness of the long afternoon, to begin the survival calculation for her family's dinner. Her deep golden eyes were locked on the most unsuspecting target. And now, every step she took was toward a single goal: the survival of the kingdom. as the setting sun began to paint the grasslands red. A small error in the zebra's instincts revealed a vulnerability. The zebra had made a fatal mistake, becoming too engrossed in a leftover blade of grass to ignore the golden rule of the savanna. Never bow your head for too long. A moment of carelessness had inadvertently turned it into a prime target, exposing its weakness to the hungry eyes lurching from the bushes. Kara was not alone in this plan. She operated a network of ambushes with her sisters to block all escape routes for the prey. She pressed her chest against the hot ground, using every blade of grass to conceal her muscles, which were compressed like steel springs. Each advance was executed according to a silent plan, where seamless coordination allowed the pride of lions to close the deadly gap without uttering a sound. When the distance was only a few paces, Kara unleashed her power, transforming all the patience she had accumulated throughout the afternoon into a devastating attack carrying the weight of her entire family. Her curved claws dug into the zebra's hide, dragging the prey down to the hard ground amidst a cloud of dust from panic. Kara quickly found the weakest point in the throat, delivering a bite that locked the trachea, cutting off the oxygen supply, and ending the chase in a matter of seconds. Kara's victory was a costly lesson, written in blood on the scorching hot ground of Masai Mara. In this world, experience is not taught through language, but is etched in the very price paid for a single moment of carelessness. The zebra allowed its instincts to override its own, and the harsh reality proved that carelessness is the most ruthless enemy, capable of taking anyone's life. Looking more broadly, this death is the lifeblood of the entire ecosystem surrounding Kara's kingdom. By eliminating weak or unsuspecting individuals, nature is carrying out a relentless purification process to keep the zebra species strong and intelligent. A massive amount of energy has just been transferred. not only sustaining the lion pride, but also maintaining the perfect balance of the survival cycle. Kara's family feast is only the beginning of a new cycle of rebirth, where the death of one becomes the foundation for the life of another. However, the strength of the herd and coordinated efforts do not always yield such a fulfilling and complete result.
Often not enough.
Not far away, beneath the riverside forest canopy, another lone hunter was also beginning his journey, but with far more cruel variables. However, the prosperity of a populous kingdom sometimes doesn't represent the entire harsh reality of this land. Right in the Mara River forest, where darkness envelops the ancient trees, another story of solitude and risk begins. Beneath the silent foliage, survival doesn't depend on numbers, but on the cunning and resilience of the silent ghosts. In the world of leopards, solitude isn't a choice, but a cruel sentence of survival for any individual. This is Makira, a mother burdened with providing food for her young cubs waiting in the darkness. Every calorie in her body at this moment was not just for sustaining her own life, but a reserve of energy to protect and nurture an entire future generation. Beneath the canopy, the impala herd seemed deceived by the silence, causing the protective order of the herd to loosen more than ever. The young individuals, preoccupied with the newly sprouted green shoots, inadvertently created a deadly gap when they separated from the collective protection. This false peace was a cruel invitation, turning carelessness into a perfect target in the calculations of the observer from above. The distance between the adult and young impalas widened. Makira sensed the time had come, and she darted forward like an arrow, tearing through the stillness of the twilight to lock onto her target. She followed each frantic leap, using her sharp claws to dig into the flanks and leveraging inertia to bring the prey down to the ground. Every muscle in her body trembled as she poured all her weight into a decisive bite, strangling her opponent's trachea with her powerful jaws. But her reward was threatened by an unsettling sound. The maniacal laughter of the powerful predators. The pack of spotted hyenas, having smelled the blood, immediately rushed to the source of fresh meat in overwhelming numbers. Their jaws were strong enough to crush bone. Makira frantically tried to lift her prey higher, but it was too late. These opportunists gave her no time to rectify her mistake.
Oh God.
As Makira turned to pull her prey up the tree, 3 or 4 wild dogs dragged her down, along with the fresh meat, then swarmed to snatch Makira's meal. She clawed at the wild dogs, but they were too numerous, attacking her relentlessly, leaving her claws missing their target. In a moment of intense confrontation, a mother's instinct forced Makira to make the most agonizing choice: give up food to save her life. Facing the sharp teeth of the hyenas, fighting was a suicidal act that could cost her young offspring their future. Makira reluctantly retreated to the safe high branches, accepting hunger rather than letting her bloodline be severed in an unequal battle. Makira lay silently high above, watching others reap the rewards of her actions. This defeat not only cost her a meal, but also served as a painful lesson in accepting loss to preserve greater values. For Makira, surviving the night was the greatest victory, giving her the chance to recalculate her survival strategy at dawn. But from the perspective of the entire system, Makira's loss was the very energy that sustained the rise of the hyenas and their silent scavengers. Nature has an incredibly efficient way of redistributing energy, where the death of one individual becomes the seed that nourishes dozens of other lives around it. It is these cruel errors that keep the cycle of Masai Mara stable, where no waste exists in the diverse network of survival. Losing a meal is a stab in the back of a dwindling body. But for a mother like Makira, the fear of hunger is quickly overshadowed by another terrifying signal. The baboon's alarm calls from the cave are not just meaningless noise. They are the death knell for the safety of the small kingdom she is striving to protect. In this world, enemies don't just appear when you have food. They lurk at your weakest moment to eradicate any hope for the future. On the savanna, the natural order operates on a cruel calculation. Eliminate the threat before it even takes shape. The baboons understood that those harmless little creatures would, in the future, become professional killers who would take their lives. Killing the leopard cub now was a pragmatic survival strategy to protect their lineage from the clutches of their enemy in the years to come. Makira returned just in time to reclaim her cub from the clutches of death. But the peace lasted only a few breaths before a new variable emerged. The scent of death from a member of Kara's family had led the dominant lion to the gates of this new refuge. Lions weren't just hunting for food. They patrolled to assert their dominance and eliminate any potential rivals in their territory. Makira understood she had no way out. She was forced to stand as a human shield to stop the giant before it reached her cubs. Driven by a fierce maternal instinct, Makira let out a low growl from deep within her throat as a final warning, demanding the intruder leave immediately. Despite the warning, the aggressor advanced, forcing Makira to make the most desperate decision of her life: to charge into a direct confrontation to buy time for her cubs to escape. Motherly instinct transformed Makira into a reckless warrior, willing to sacrifice her life for a few extra minutes of refuge for her offspring. Every slap and bite she delivered was filled with desperation. A desperate struggle to hold on against the overwhelming power of the lion's ruler. In that moment of being crushed under the lion's claws, Makira fought not to win, but to ensure her blood would continue to flow in the veins of future generations. Taking advantage of the opponent's distraction by the surrounding circumstances, Makira poured all her remaining strength into a spectacular escape, returning to her small kingdom. Maternal love compelled her to live, to find a way out of the narrowest gaps between death, so as not to miss her children. She emerged from the battle with fresh, bleeding scars on her flesh. But the true victory was the still pulsating breath of her young children. Makira's struggle leaves a profound lesson about nature's greatest power. The instinct to protect one's offspring transcends all fear. Knowing how to retreat and seize opportunities is the ultimate wisdom of those who know their limits to ensure long-term survival. The scar on Makira's shoulder today is not just the mark of a brutal confrontation, but proof of an unconditional love that triumphed over the claws of the ruler. From a broader perspective, the resistance of solitary individuals like Makira helps maintain the balance and diversity of the Masai Mara ecosystem. Nature constantly creates variables to restrain absolute power, ensuring that each species, however small or solitary, has its own place to write its own story. The cycle of survival is about to enter a new phase under the moonlight, where larger-scale confrontations are gradually forming from the shadows of life. From a broader perspective, the resistance of solitary individuals like Makira helps maintain the balance and diversity of the Masai Mara ecosystem. Nature constantly creates variables to restrain absolute power, ensuring that each species, however small or solitary, has its own place to write its own story. After a few days of rest, hunger begins to urge Kara's family to leave the shade and undertake a new, perilous survival exercise under the scorching afternoon sun. Ahead of the lions is a herd of buffalo. These giants carry the strength of tons of muscle and horns that curve like scythes. Hunger has driven Kara and her companions into a dangerous gamble, targeting a vulnerable young individual at the end of the line. In the world of claws and fangs, falling behind by even a few meters is enough to turn a living creature into a broken point in an entire armored defense system. The attack erupted in a flash as Kara and her sisters poured all their strength into a decisive burst of speed to overwhelm their prey. Claws touched flesh, but the desperate roar of the young buffalo immediately shattered the lion's plan for a swift finish. That cry for help was not just panic, but a rallying cry for the collective strength of the armored warriors at the front. Faced with fierce resistance from the enormous horns, the advantage of claws and fangs was completely crushed by the power of unity. The buffalo herd did not choose to flee. They turned back to protect their bloodline, transforming panic into a powerful counterattack. Kara realized that the price for this meal was fatal wounds, and she was forced to order a retreat to preserve her forces for more viable hunts. The failed hunt was a harsh lesson about the limits of power at the top of the food chain on the open savanna. Knowing when to stop and accepting defeat against an overwhelming opponent is the wisdom that has allowed the Kara dynasty to survive for millions of years. On this land, fangs can bring death, but horns and unity are what keep life beating. The fierce resistance of the buffalo herd is not just self-defense, but an essential mechanism for maintaining the balance of the ecosystem. If fangs always win, the food source will soon be depleted. Conversely, if the prey is too strong, the predator will perish from hunger. It is this struggle and these failed hunts that keep each species in a state of heightened alertness, ensuring that the survival cycle of the Masai Mara remains stable and diverse. The Kara clan's defeat at the Horn Fortress was no longer a random accident, but a manifestation of a system cracking under the pressure of the times. The once tolerant Masai Mara region became more crowded and hostile than ever as new variables began to interfere with the cycle of survival. Each failed hunt not only left behind hunger, but also drained the last glimmer of hope of a dynasty slowly losing its own territory. The lifeblood of the steppe is being choked by fences and the relentless expansion of settlements right on the edge of the conservation zone. Human hands have inadvertently torn apart freedom, confining master hunters to cramped spaces where competition becomes more brutal and bloody. Fewer water sources and less space mean that millennia-old migrations now face the invisible walls of industrial evolution. The kings of the steppe are facing a silent decline as their numbers plummet in less than 2 decades. Once rulers of an entire continent, the Kara clan now struggles to maintain their bloodline amidst dwindling prey and clashes with humans. The price of development is the disappearance of their fanged phantoms, leaving the symbol of freedom and power more fragile than ever on the brink of extinction. In Masai Mara, no individual can be certain of surviving the dry season in a constantly changing world. Nature doesn't judge brute strength. It only recognizes the adaptability and perseverance of those who know how to bend to the harsh variables. Those who know when to retreat to preserve their bloodline will continue their journey, while those who cannot change will forever vanish into the dust of history. Between the collective strength of the Kara clan and the solitary patience of the mother leopard Makira, who do you think has a greater chance of overcoming the challenges of the times? Which dynasty will survive and which ghost will be forgotten? Share your thoughts in the comments and join us as we continue our journey to explore nature's most mysterious survival algorithms.
In the heart of Africa, amid the untarnished lands, Zambia spreads out like a primordial symphony where every wind, every footprint and every wild call is part of a grand order that humans can only observe from afar. Wild Zambia, land of the predatory assassins. In the South Luangwa grasslands, under the midday sun, a black-backed jackal silently makes its way through the tall grass. Its compact form, its coat of gold and black blending with the dry earth, its large ears swiveling to catch every sound. Nearby, the black-backed jackal is a master of patience. Not relying on the speed of a cheetah, nor the collective strength of an African wild dog, it chose the strategy of silently lurking and waiting for the right moment. In the natural world, each small individual, like the black-backed jackal, still had its own place not in strength, but in caution, timing, and the ability to take advantage of nature's most fragile moments. Suddenly, the jackal shrank, then rushed forward like an arrow tearing through the wind. The sound of grass collapsing and rocks flying up joined the rhythm of the rush towards the flock of birds. But just a small movement was enough to disturb the water surface. The flock of pigeons was shaken for a moment. Then, like a wave of simultaneous movements, they jumped off the ground, the sound of flapping wings tearing through the air. The jackal pounced on the empty space. It paused, gasped, then raised its head to watch the flock of birds disappear into the sky. Another missed opportunity. But for a species that lives on opportunity like the black-backed jackal, failure is just a familiar part of life. And the sun continued to rise, signaling another stalking, another opportunity, at a more opportune time. But the opportunity did not wait long. From the edge of the forest, a flock of guinea fowl suddenly rushed out, flapping their wings frantically and then scattering towards the puddle. It was breeding season. Each male tossed his head, spread his tail to show off his colorful feathers, relentlessly chasing and showing off his power to his opponent. The commotion caught the pheasants off guard. Amidst the jostling of wings and the fight for a mate, no one noticed the low, silent shadow approaching from the bushes. Just one lunge. Clean, fast and decisive. A guinea fowl was pounced on. Its wings flapped wildly for a few seconds, then fell silent under the jackal's claws. The spoils were not large, but they were enough to fuel the hot afternoon ahead. In the distance, where the grasslands met the edge of the forest, a large group of birds moved slowly across the ground. Their jet-black plumage and bright red faces stood out in the sunlight. They were southern ground hornbills, one of the largest birds in sub-Saharan Africa. They can grow up to 1 meter tall and weigh more than 4 kilos. Their broad wings allow them to fly short distances, but they mostly travel on foot. Their long, gently curved, strong bills, with raised ridges like horns, help them dig, peck, and handle medium-sized prey. One of the most striking features is the bright red bare skin on the face and neck, larger in males, and sometimes tinged with a slight blue in females. Their large eyes with long eyelashes help reduce glare, which is rare in birds. This is a long-lived bird. quiet and calm. The hornbill is in no hurry. Each step is measured by the flow of time, connected to the land, to the grasslands, and to the slow pace of life here. Near the sparse trees and tall grass hills of Kafue, a dark silhouette appears against the green-brown background of the plains. A male sable antelope with a high neck, its horns curved back like shiny sword blades. Sable is one of the largest and most beautiful antelopes in Africa. The males have dark black fur, while the females and calves are usually chestnut brown. Adult males can reach 140 centimeters at the shoulder, with horns up to 1 meter long. Both males and females have horns, but males are usually darker in color and larger in stature. The curved, crescent-shaped horns are an effective defense tool, especially when threatened by predators. They live in small groups, usually consisting of a dominant male and several females. Females remain attached to each other, while mature males who are no longer dominant will leave the group and live alone or in separate male groups. Sables prefer grasslands near the edge of forests where there is shade, water and low vegetation to feed on. Although they look gentle, they can become very fierce when threatened. Their curved horns help them defend themselves effectively against predators such as lions. Further north, where the grasslands gradually sink into swamps, the water gathers into still pools, and the vegetation grows in floating clumps. This is Bangwulu, a pristine wetland, home to one of the world's most distinctive birds, the shoebill. Its tall body, ash-grey plumage, and especially its large, thick, clog-shaped bill are unmistakable identifying features of this species. Shoebills can grow up to 1.2 meters tall, with a wingspan of nearly 2.5 meters. Despite their slow appearance, they are precise hunters. Their usual targets are lungfish, eels, frogs, and even baby turtles. They stand motionless for hours among the mud and reeds, waiting for prey to come near. When the moment is right, the peck is quick and decisive. With its large, sharp beak, the stork can clamp down, killing its prey almost instantly. The stork can clamp down, killing its prey almost instantly. Each breeding season, shoebills usually lay 2 eggs. But in most cases, only 1 chick survives. But because selection occurs within the nest, the first chick to hatch grows faster. When the second hatches a few days late, it is often attacked by its older sibling, pushed out of the nest, or prevented from feeding. The parents do not interfere, and the selection process is silent. This phenomenon is seen as a strategy to ensure that at least 1 youngling develops fully in a harsh environment with little chance of success. But it also reflects the fragile boundary between life and being eliminated even at birth. In the swamp world, where everything happens slowly, even a fledgling creature must face the decision of not belonging to it. In the highlands along the rivers, where the soft soil is eroded into steep cliffs, hundreds of small round holes appear, which is the sign of the most brilliant bird here. That is bee-eater, also known as bee-eating bird, is a group of small birds, slender body, long and curved beak. Their feathers have bright colors of blue, red, yellow, orange, varying by species. They live in flocks, often perching on high branches or electric wires near water. When they detect prey such as bees, wasps, dragonflies, they swoop down very quickly, catching them in the air. Before eating, the birds often lightly hit the prey on tree branches or the ground to drop the poisonous stinger, then swallow it. This is a typical adaptive behavior, helping them handle stinging prey. Bee-eaters nest in holes in the ground. The whole flock digs hundreds of deep holes into the riverbank, forming large colonies that stretch for tens of meters. Inside, a small tunnel leads to a nest cavity, where eggs are incubated and young are raised. When the afternoon comes, flocks of birds fly in the sky, the sunlight shining through their wings, creating brilliant streaks of color. In the world of Zambia, the bee-eater carries a gentle movement that is fast, but not hurried, beautiful, but not ostentatious, like a stream of color flying through the original nature. On a branch of the Luangwa River, where the water is calm and reflects the color of the sky, a loud cry echoes high, decisive, long. It is the voice of the African fish eagle, a typical bird of prey of the freshwater regions of Africa. Its plumage is characterized by a white head and chest, a reddish-brown body, black wings, and sharp yellow eyes. When perched on bare riverbank trees, they are easily recognized by their upright posture and their cries that can be heard for kilometers. They mainly eat fish, which make up more than 90% of their diet. From their high position, the eagle observes the water below. When it detects prey, it swoops down at great speed, its two talons spread wide, and grabs the fish just below the surface of the water. Their talons have special sharp edges, helping to grip slippery fish. After the catch, the birds often fly back to a branch or a rock to feed. In the quiet of rivers and lakes, the call of an eagle is like a declaration of the presence of not just one bird, but of an entire food chain that depends on water. On the Zambezi River escarpment, the breeding season of honeybees is approaching. Hundreds of birds gather. The sky around the nest area is filled with cries, flapping wings, and tense chases. Each individual finds a place to dig a nest cavity, a deep hole leading to the incubation chamber inside the soft soil. But the ground is not enough for everyone. Disputes quickly flare up. Pairs use their wings and beaks to claim a place. Good locations on high ground, less flooded, and near the river's edge are always the target of many pairs at the same time. The reeds thin out and the ground turns to dry gravel. No more bird wings or splashing water. The scene becomes unusually quiet. In in that silence, a graceful figure appeared, as gently as the wind, gliding across the ground. It was the caracal, the black-eared lynx, one of the most mysterious and cunning predators on the Dark Continent. With its light sandy fur, compact body, and long ears with black tufts standing upright like two flames, it moved between the thorn bushes with almost no sound. No need to be tall. No need for a herd. The caracal lived alone, relying on its extremely sensitive hearing and lightning-fast reflexes to take down its prey in the blink of an eye. Its steps were unhurried, each step carefully measured as if it were gliding through the folds of time. On the edge of the bush, a flock of guinea fowl were foraging, unaware of the lurking predator. Hiding in the shade, the caracal crouched low to the ground, its eyes locked on the male guinea fowl that was separating from the flock. Without a sound, it quietly approached. Then suddenly, the caracal sprang up like a spring, shooting more than 3 meters. The sound of flapping wings rang out, but it was too late. The pounce was on target, neat and decisive. Without hesitation, it carried the prey's body and quietly retreated into the bushes, leaving behind only faint footprints in the sunset. Which species' survival tactics impressed you? Remember to leave a comment below the video. Hit the bell, subscribe so you don't miss the next wild stories from the majestic natural world.